I fell victim to this, and I'm probably not the first person or the last person to fall victim to the idea that, oh, 20 more pounds on my bench and I'll be a starter, or 50 more pounds on a squat and I'm going to go to college, and or if I lower my 40 time and get my 40 time down faster, that's going to be the thing for me. That's going to be the thing. And not to say that it isn't the to help you become a better athlete, but it's good to have goals, right, and to be pushing toward something at the end of the day. But I think that the problem in general with training is, or the problem, the mental problem, especially with this sport specifically, is getting so caught up in the numbers, or getting so caught up in what I did today, or getting down on yourself too. Is that, what I did today, I only did this much, today, and I expected to be able to do this much. I expected to be able to do this much, and I think that is probably the worst thing that any human being, and athlete aside, football, baseball, anything, doesn't matter what you're training for, that is probably the worst place to get yourself into, because that one workout isn't the determination of your outcome, whether you're going to win the game or whether you're going to play well that weekend or anything like that. That one workout isn't going to be the end all be all of the result that you're going to be able to produce. It's not. But we get caught up in it, and as a human being, you want to be getting better, you want to be progressing or what have you. But motherfucker, you got to be fucking patient. Motherfucker, you got to be patient. You really do, and that's a lot easier said than done. Here's the biggest problem when it comes to numbers in general, right? Especially weight room numbers. When you talk about a squat, a bench, snatch, power clean, clean and jerk, anything. I said that twice. Any one of those numbers. The biggest problem with that is that there is no correlation. There is no correlation to. There's no correlation between Olympic athlete and power clean X. There's no correlation between Olympic sprinter and snatch X. There's no correlation between NFL linebacker and bench press this. Okay, maybe on a bench press a little bit, but there's a lot, or a DB bench press this. Like, there's so many other acumens, and there's so many other skill sets. How well you learn the playbook with the NFL, with the baseball, how well you can throw the ball. There's so many other things that go into effectively being good at playing a sport, that your number in the weight room is sort of, it's a training tool. It's a training element. It's not what you should put your self-worth into, or put your ability and all of your ability into. It's just not, and it's really toxic when you have those days when you're beating yourself up about, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, or what have you. It's not productive. It's just not fucking productive at the end of the day. I'll plain cut and dry it. So with this sport, with track and field, with anything, you worry about distance and you worry about times, right? The truth be told, distance doesn't matter most of the time. Distance does not matter. It doesn't matter when you're practicing. It doesn't matter 90% of the time. It really doesn't. Anything that you do in practice isn't being marked in competition at the very, very end of the day. It's not. When you talk about sprinters, yes, they should be, when they're having training thresholds, when they have times that they're supposed to be hitting, they should be close to. They should have the ability to hit these times. If they're healthy and they've warmed up well, they should have the ability to hit these times for at least the majority of the work, even if it is a hard workout, right? Because sprinters do have really, really tough workouts sometimes, and as do throwers or what have you. But it can get tough to hit those times. Now, that doesn't mean that they aren't capable of going faster or doing more, but that's their training day. That's their threshold for the given training day, and that's what they should be focused on hitting, because that's what they're doing at this point in time in this cycle. So it's hard to not get caught up in it, but there's a time and there's a time and a place for you to peak at the end of the day. There's a time and a place for you to peak. with basketball and football and some of these other sports that they play year round or what have you, it's a little bit. They still peak in the playoffs at the end of the day. They still want to be peaking in the playoffs because they play a lot harder in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. I mean, that's money. Those are money games. So there's big money on the line with that. So they do peak, but in general, their main facet and their main focus should be to, throughout, you talk about a season that's 5 months or 6 months or X amount of time, their main shit is to keep themselves healthy. You're taking a brutal beating over being a professional athlete or whatever, and just taking it over a long duration of time. So you're trying to stay healthy is your main thing. So with that being said, there are a lot of variables that go into, on any given day, what you can output, what you're going to be able to output. So you have to take those variables into account. Like did you have a tough game? Like, were you beat up or stressed out, or was it a hard workout, the last workout that you went on? And you have to, how you ate, how you slept. You have to really take all these things into account when you want to measure this numerical value or what have you of what you're trying to, of relative to what you can do and what you're able to produce. There's just a lot that goes into that. And at the end of the day, if you can't compete, or if you can't train, or if you're beat so down that you can't train, well then, and if you're hurt, you can't compete. That's been my philosophy for a long time. If you hurt, then you can't compete, and you don't have the opportunity to even put anything out there because you're too busy getting hurt. And you can do the same thing when you're too focused on numbers. At the end of the day, and that's what we do sometimes, is get too far. And if that's one lesson that I wish I would have taught myself a long time ago, is that, especially when I was younger and I was looking at people on my team training, or people that I trained with through junior high school, however long, I wish I never paid attention to the weight room acumen of things. I wish that I never paid attention to those things. So, because at the end of the day, I'm still here. A lot of things, and I've talked about this, a lot of things come into account, and some people aren't even working out anymore. They don't even do anything anymore. And I would say that as somebody my age, 20, you're not out the gate. You're not out to where you can't still put up some strong lifts for an out. Like you this is your peak. This is your prime. So that's. But some people burn themselves out. Got tired of training, sports, fitness. They got tired of it for whatever reason. So always a interesting conversation to have. And the reason that I brought this all up is because I was standing away from the concrete spot that I normally stand from. So this actually, I tricked myself because I knew I was going to do it, right? I stood further away from where the actual field is, right? So I was looking over there. I'm like, oh, I'm not throwing as far. Like, what's going on? My technique, what am I doing? And then it dawned on me that every day I stand on a different spot. I stand on a different patch of concrete there, because sometimes there's cars there, sometimes there's other people there, and I'm taking the path least resistance, and least me get my ass chewed out and breaking somebody's shit, ball breaks or whatever. Worst case scenario, I'm taking the path least resistance. So I'm in a different spot every single day. And so with that being said, I don't know how far I'm throwing. Now I have a relative idea, right? I have a relative idea, I have a decent idea of how far but it's just a decent idea, right? When I have great throws, when I have good throw, then I'm a little bit more, okay, let me get out the tape measure and kind of see based off of where I was throwing. Then I do that. I do that occasionally, and I probably only do that I've probably only done that once or twice a week, if that. I don't worry about it too much. My main priority is focusing on the technique and focusing on whether I mark the throws or not, whether the throws are markable or not. I think that's a pretty good indicator of whether or not I'm headed in the right direction. And that's what you kind of have. That's kind of what you gotta have something like that when you're training, right? You gotta have indicators like, okay, and they're called leading indicators, right? You have to say, did you lift? Did you sleep? Did you eat? What's your nutrition like? You have to take all these indicators into account when you're talking about training and how effective is your training going. So that's kind of that's kind of the way that I think about it now. I take all those indicators into my mind, and then I extrapolate what the situation that I'm in based off of those indicators. But at the end of the day, I am only motherfucking human, and it is, it is. You can play the distance game some days. You can play the fucking stupid ass distance game and with yourself, and that isn't the best idea ever. That isn't the best idea. It's note to self. I got one mouth in 2 years, and I would recommend that if you're watching this, then I wouldn't play that game. So another point that I kind of was real picking up on today was that, and I was doing this a little bit, was when I sector left, actually was told, I actually saw a video of a guy. Apparently he scratched sector, the right-handed thrower scratched sector left. And according to the video, apparently it was pretty close to the world record. So that's not, when you're right-hand thrower and you sector left. I used to beat myself up about that, but it's not the biggest of deals, and I had to remind myself of that today. The entry was when I do the PTSD drill, I'm supposed to be doing winds, right? And I think that the winds is supposed to be strengthening your ability to do winds, right? But the winds put me in strange positions sometimes, because the way that I wind the ball when I do a full throw isn't the way that I wind the ball when I'm doing that drill, right? It's not they're two different things. And looking at it, I don't know what should be the cue. Sometimes I think that when I'm doing these drills, and even the full drill with the turn progress, when it goes to all the way to 4 winds and 4 turns, even that full drill or whatever, part of me thinks that you aren't supposed to, like, you're supposed to be super relaxed, and you're not even supposed to be put the entry in hard. You're supposed to really be focused on grinding, pushing the ball, accelerating the ball with your legs. I think that's, in my brain, that's what the point of that drill is. Maybe somebody else will explain it to me one day, and that's not what the point of it is, but in my brain, that's what it's been. Another issue that I've had, and I'm going to have to go back and look at the videos and see so sometimes I think that I start up here, and sometimes I think on the entry, and where I'm letting the ball in on the entry, it's all over the place. And also where I'm standing at on the entry is all over the place. And part of me thinks that I should go back to being in a tighter and a lower position, because I am a lower to the ground thrower compared to some throwers that are 6 foot taller and such, that throw at a taller support than I do. Part of me thinks that I should figure out a way to use my legs and use my kind of toughness in order to and figure out where that position is, where that happy spot is, obviously. And at the end of the day, when you accelerate, when you go through the turns, your ass is going to stand up eventually. You're going to stand up and you're going to finish eventually. But where do I think I'm going to have the best control, and where do I'm going to have the best chance of getting that vertical lift on the ball? I don't know. Very, very interesting, but I'm kind of all over the place, so I'm going to have to get that refined a little bit. But it's a process. Got a lot of throws in today. Got a lot of throws, good throws. So a couple bad. Got tired at the end, but 30 throws. I haven't done 30 throws in a minute, but it wasn't horrible. My legs are tired. I am fatigued at this point. I can't lie about that. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress. So, but that's just about all I got. You already know what the deal is. Run on your toes, keep your mouth closed, lock your doors, and save your throws. And most importantly, you're laid to fight another day. I'm gonna get the fuck up out of here.